History lost, decks past, but in this series, we revisit older decks to see if they can be brought back to the forefront of the meta. We'll break down what made these decks great, what no longer holds up, and how modern builds can give them new life. By exploring different variants and tech choices, we'll tune each deck to fit different playstyles. Let's see if these classics still have what it takes for meta teching. What's up, guys? My name is TechnoTuner, and we're back again with another episode of Metateching. Today, we're taking a look at the Light and Darkness Chaos deck, or aka Yugi's Chaos deck, where we're basically going to be focusing on utilizing Mind Switch, or is it Mind Scan? It is Mind Shuffle. Never mind, it was neither. To basically get our Black Luster Soldier and our Black Chaos Magician out of the deck. So basically, this deck revolves around the whole thing of the Dark Chaos Magician. We're going to be utilizing the new one, Black Chaos, the Ultimate Magical Swordsman, to utilize as another boss monster within this deck. Between banishing our opponent's cards, getting basically a graceful charity off of the Celtic Guardian, to summoning rituals repeatedly during our opponent's turn to keep further interactions going and basically dodging effects. This deck does a lot, and I have to say, it is one of the most enjoyable decks that I have seen for those players that love the old school kind of Yu-Gi-Oh! Monsters that just got a revamp, but also it has one of the most diverse builds that you can focus on. Being able to run either Red Dragon Archfiend, Branded, Dark Magician, or Blue Eyes, giving you the access to Magia. You have a lot within this deck as a whole to basically go through and try out. But let's go ahead and start off with our main deck, and our main deck being the pure version. Alright, so starting off with the actual main deck here, we have 3 Black Chaos, the Ultimate Magician, or Magical Swordsman. Cannot be normal summon or set, must be special summon from your hand by shuffling one ritual monster, spellcaster, or warrior from your hand or graveyard into the deck. You can only special summon Black Chaos, the Ultimate Magical Swordsman, once per turn this way. You can discard this card, place one continuous trap that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your deck or graveyard face up on your field, unaffected by your opponent's activated effects while you have a ritual spell in your graveyard. Once per turn, you can banish 2 cards your opponent controls. So do note that is not a quick effect, that is only during your turn, so you can use it to further board break your opponent's board, but it's a really good summon nonetheless. Now, the other thing about this is that it pairs very well with Grifo. Quick effect, you can discard this card, then activate one of these effects. The next battle or effect damage you take this turn will become 0. Set one quick play spell or trap that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your deck. It can be activated this turn. You can only use this effect of Grifo once per turn. For the ritual summon of exactly one level 8 ritual monster with a card effect that requires use of monsters, this card can be used as the entire tribute. So basically, we're going to be using Grifo as our ritual material in some cases, but we can also utilize its other effects to help us get our spells and our monsters rolling. Of course, we're going to be following that up with 3 Mystical Celtic Sage. If this card is normal or special summon, you can activate this effect. You can only special summon from the extra deck once for the rest of this turn. Also reveal your entire hand, and if there is a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness in it, you can draw 3 cards and then discard 2 cards. You can tribute this card, special summon one ritual monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your hand. You can only use each effect of Mystical Celtic Sage once per turn. So this card's really good, as it basically allows you to reveal your hand, which is a bit rough, so your opponent will know what you have, but you do have the option of drawing 3 cards and then discarding 2 cards, especially if those cards are more of a brick. So this allows you further capability here to better form your hand into something that is more playable, but also gives you a lot of options to fill your graveyard with, for example, the actual rituals that you can utilize to shuffle back for the Black Chaos, the Ultimate Magical Swordsman. Now, do note that I am also playing the 3 Magician Souls and 2 Illusion of Chaos. This is because I'm playing more of a Dark Magician build here to keep it more in line to what Yugi's deck would look like if they were incorporating Dark Magician. But Aside from that, moving on to Skull Archfiend of Chaos. If this card is in your hand or graveyard, you can target 3 other cards in the graveyards and or face-up banishment, including a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness. Place them on the bottom of the deck in any order, and if you do, special summon this card. If this card is sent to the graveyard, you can send 1 ritual spell from your hand or deck to the graveyard, add 1 ritual monster mentioned on that card from your deck to your hand. You can only use each effect of Skull Archfiend of Chaos once per turn. So basically being able to get you right into your actual rituals can really start your plays and is a very good starter nonetheless. Being able to send basically Ritual of Light and Darkness, this card can be used to ritual summon Black Chaos, the Dark Chaos Magician, or Black Luster Soldier, Soldier of Light and Darkness. You must also tribute monsters from your hand or field and or banish monsters from your graveyard whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the monster you ritual summon. If this card is in your graveyard, you can add both it and 1 other card that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your graveyard to your hand. You can only use this effect of Ritual of Light and Darkness once per turn. So this does help because if you're able to send it, add the ritual, then utilize those monsters in hand to ritual summon, it can really help you out a lot, especially in getting your whole bosses, or well, your 2 new bosses set up. For those 2 new bosses, of course, we have Black Chaos, the Dark Chaos Magician. You can ritual summon this card with Ritual of Light and Darkness, unaffected by your opponent's activated effects, unless they target this card. Spells and traps you control cannot be destroyed or banished by your opponent's card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of Black Chaos, the Dark Chaos Magician, once per turn. If this card is special summon, you can add 1 spell from your graveyard to your hand. You can target 1 card your opponent controls, banish it face down. Once again, better for board breaking, where the whole banish aspect comes in, but you do have the good capability of when it is special summoned to add a spell from your graveyard, which can further help you set up for your next turn. The Black Luster Soldier, Soldier of Light and Darkness. You can ritual summon this card with Ritual of Light and Darkness. Cannot be destroyed by battle, unaffected by your opponent's activated effects unless they target this card. You can only use each of the following effects of Black Luster Soldier, Soldier of Light and Darkness once per turn. If this card is special summon, you can target 1 card your opponent controls, banish it. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can make this card gain 1500 attack, and if you do, it can make a second attack in a row. So basically jumps to 4500, can then attack again, which is very, very good, but also it is, when it is special summon, target 1 card your opponent controls and banish it. So this is basically your interaction for the deck to where it can further hurt your opponent's board, but also allow you to break that board. Now, as I was saying, we are playing the Dark Magicians, so we are playing Dark Magician at a 1 of 3 Magician Souls, where you can send up to 2 spells and traps from your hand and or field to the graveyard, draw that many cards. If this card is in your hand, you can send 1 level 6 or higher spellcaster monster from your deck to the graveyard, then activate 1 of these effects. Special summon this card, send this card to the graveyard, then you can special summon Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Magician Souls once per turn. So basically, utilizing that in Illusion of Chaos, you can ritual summon this card with Chaos form. You can reveal this card in your hand, add 1 Dark Magician or 1 non-ritual monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand, then place 1 card from your hand on top of the deck. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can return this card to the hand, and if you do, special summon Dark Magician from your graveyard, and if you do negate the activated effect, you can only use each effect of Illusion of Chaos once per turn. Basically utilizing this and Magician's Souls as a way to get the bodies back on board, to start your combos and start getting bodies on board for either ritual summoning or being able to just set up a decent boss monster to further incorporate. This also lets you fill your graveyard so you can further work around with the ritual spell to add it back, plus a card that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness, which can further help out. For example, Chaos Hats. When your opponent activates a monster effect or a normal spell and trap card, choose 3 spells and traps with different names from each other from your deck and 1 monster in your main monster zone that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness. Special summon the chosen spell and traps in face down defense position as normal monsters. Spellcaster Dark, level 8, attack 0, defense 0, and their names become Chaos Hats. Even while face down, set the chosen monster and shuffle them on the field. Then your opponent's activated effect becomes destroy 1 face down defense position monster your opponent controls. So this can help get more materials in the graveyard to trigger your effects, but can also help you get some decent recycling back in as well. Now, as for another card that we're going to be utilizing is Mystic Box of Chaos. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets another card or cards you control, return one of those cards you control to the hand. If face down, reveal it. And if you do, destroy one card on the field. Then you can special summon one monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your hand with a different name than the return card, ignoring its summoning conditions. If this card in its owner's possession is destroyed by an opponent's card, you can special summon Ritual monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your hand or deck, giving you the further capability to basically get out your rituals without having to do the whole ritual summoning aspect, but also giving you the opportunity to utilize this with Chaos Hats to bounce back the actual monster if they hit your monster instead, or if they target your monster instead of the spell or trap. So this can further help bounce back monsters, get new ones out, so they have to basically be bouncing around to avoid the whole aspect of being popped on your side of the board. Now, one card that is technically not canon for this deck, but does work very well, is Corrupted Ritual Records. You can reveal one ritual spell in your hand or deck, and add one monster that mentions it from your deck to your hand. If a face-up ritual monster or monsters you control leaves the field by card effect, while this card is in your graveyard, and you control no face-up, non-ritual monsters, except during damage step, you can add this card to your hand. You can only use each effect of Corrupted Ritual Records once per turn. So basically, giving you the further capability to add your rituals back to your hand, but also, or well, not add them back to your hand, but add them to your hand, but also being able to add this card back to your hand if you control a ritual monster as well to further help your plays. Now, we're also incorporating a lot of board breakers into this, which is 3 Forbidden Droplet, 3 Super Poly, 1 Called by the Grave, 1 Triple Tactics Talent, and 3 Molcharmy Fualos. This deck doesn't really work as well with hand traps as you're looking for more advantage to break your opponent's board, especially for going second. Now, the other card that is very fun in this deck is Mind Shuffle. During either player's turn, you can add one monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your deck to your hand and discard one card. You can only use this effect of Mind Shuffle once per turn. When your opponent activates a card or effect, you can return one level 7 or higher monster you control to the hand, especially one monster with a different name from your hand that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness, ignoring summoning conditions. You cannot activate these effects of Mind Shuffle in the same chain. So, you can activate them, just not in the same chain, which can really help you out. And do note, they are not a once per turn. Outside of, you can only use the effect of adding one monster that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness from your deck to your hand. So basically, the whole thing of returning a level 7 or higher monster you control to hand, special one monster with a different name from your hand that mentions Ritual of Light and Darkness, and ignoring its summoning conditions, is not a hard once per turn. So this can basically get your rituals back out onto the field and swap them out pretty easily. Now, as for the extra deck, of course, we are playing just a few cards here. I did forget the Gaze of Timaeus. Don't worry, we would probably swap that in for either a one less copy of Skull Archfiend of Chaos or Mystical Celtic Sage, or Celtic Sage, or you can run it at 45. So this way you can utilize the Dark Magician of Destruction. It's 1 Dark Magician plus 1 lighter dark monster must either be fusion summoned or special summoned from your extra deck during the turn a spell card or effect is activated by banishing 1 level 6 or higher dark spellcaster monster you control as material. You can only special summon Dark Magician of Destruction once per turn this way. No matter which method you use, this card's name becomes Dark Magician while on the field or in the graveyard. If this card is special summoned, you can add 1 Dark Magician or 1 card that mentions it from your deck to your hand. So basically being able to add the Gaze, Gaze, of Timaeus. We're going to run this at 2. You can target 1 Dark Magician or 1 Dark Magician Girl in your field or graveyard. Fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck that mentions that monster as material by shuffling it into the deck as material. This is treated as a fusion summon with the Eye of Timaeus, but banish it during the next end phase of the next turn. You can only activate 1 Gaze of Timaeus per turn. So basically utilizing Dark Magician Destruction, you can then search the Gaze of Timaeus and be able to utilize it as well during your opponent's turn to go into Red Eye's Dark Dragoon as a further negation or impactful card. The other cards that you can utilize here, since we're running 3 Super Poly, is Garura, Wings of Resonant Life, Mud Dragon of the Swamp, and Sea Monster of Theseus, given that we have Cool Tune running amok right now. The other one that we also do have is Predaplant Dragostapelia. 1 fusion monster plus 1 dark monster once per turn. Quick effect, you can target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, place 1 predator counter on it, And if it is a level 2 or higher, it becomes level 1, as long as it has a predator counter. Negate the activated effects of your opponent's monsters that have predator counters. So this can also work well at setting up negations for your opponent's board, but also allows you to break more. Now, as I like to mention here, we do have further options as a whole in which we can utilize the Synchro line. Since Mystical Celtic Sage is a level 4, if you can get out a Dark level 6, aka Skull Archfiend of Chaos, what does that make? Chaos Angel. So you get a free banish there. You can also go into SP Little Knight, the Dark Charmer Gloomy, and Access Code Talker to further break your opponent's board. But you can also work in Superstar Slayer Typhon Sky Crisis, along with Cyframe Lord Omega and Bestial Dispater, if you wish to run a Bestial Magnuma and some dragons as well. Those are other options that you can run and incorporate in this deck. If not, there's no worry, you can sub those out for any others that best work for you. Now, that's all that I have for the actual main build for the most pure version of the deck. Let's hop right into another version, which we can take a further look at and see how we can improve this. So, as most people have seen, we don't really utilize our extra deck that much in this deck. So what can we incorporate that can turn our extra deck into either a way to further break our opponent's board or as a good source of materials? In this case, we can run 2 Fallen White, 1 Fallen of Albaz, and 1 Incredible Ecclesia the Virtuous. Basically running the branded package along with the 3 Fallen and the Virtuous gives us the option to utilize our extra deck as a way to break our opponent's board. Being able to send Albion off the Fallen and the Virtuous to search or set another Fallen and Virtuous can further help, but also it gives us options as well here to allow us to go into either Ecclesia the Dark Dragon with the Fallen of the White Dragon and 1 Incredible Ecclesia, or we can go into the 3 Brave Sword Souls. For those that don't know, the 3 Brave Sword Souls will be releasing in Chaos Origins as well. It's 1 level 4 tuner plus 1 or more non-tuners. If this card is Synchro Summon, you can add 1 level 4 or 8 Spellcaster monster whose attack equals its own defense from your deck or graveyard to your hand. You can target 1 face-up card on the field, negate its effects. Then if you have an Ecclesia monster or a Fawn of Albaz in your graveyard, you can destroy that card. You can only use each effect of 3 Brave Sword Souls once per turn, so just giving you further capability as well for further board breaking, but also allowing you to add just another spellcaster monster that has the same attack as it does defense, so basically just Ecclesia, but that's still something that you can work with. Outside of that, you do have options to the Crimson King as well, where you can run a Red Dragon or Archfiend if you would like, but it also gives you a Dark Dragon body as well if you want to work into something else. It also gives you 2, if not 3, dark bodies and a light body to further work around with the light and darkness aspect of this deck, being able to allow you to go into Grand Guignol, the Dust Dragon, into Despia Queritus to further break your opponent's board. But you also have further options along the lines of making the Dragon that Devours the Dogma if you wish to incorporate and utilize Super Poly to do this. You can also use Fallen of Albaz effect to basically just fuse using monsters on your board, or not your board, but your opponent's board if you utilize its effect. But if you utilize Super Poly, you can fuse into it during your opponent's turn using monsters on your side. But do note, oh, never mind, you can use on either field. It's been a while since I've seen Fallen of Albaz, so please forgive me on that. But if this card is normal or special summon, you can discard 1 card, fusion summon 1 fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters on either field, including this card, but you cannot use other monsters you control as material. So it does just lock you with Fallen of Albaz on your side, so you'd have to use monsters on your opponent's board if you're utilizing the effect. But if you do utilize Super Poly, you can fuse, for example, Black Chaos, the Ultimate Magical Swordsman, or a Mystical Celtic Sage, or a Skull Archfiend of Chaos, plus a Garifo, or whatever. Basically, utilizing Super Poly to allow you to go into the Dragon that Devours the Dogma makes it a lot harder for your opponent to really interact, because this card is really good. While an Ecclesia monster is on the field or in either graveyard, this card gains 500 attack. Also is unaffected by other card effects. You can only use each of the following effects of the Dragon that Devours the Dogma once per turn. If this card is special summoned, you can shuffle up to 2 cards from any graveyards and or banishment into the deck. During the end phase, if this card is in the graveyard because it was sent there this turn, you can add 1 Dogmatica or Tri-Brigade card from your deck to your hand. So, since we're further breaking our opponent's board or shuffling back materials that we don't want banished or in their banish, we can further incorporate this and further break their board and make it more difficult for them to play. But that's all that I really have for this build, as we are looking more towards board breaking with this deck. So let's hop right in to our next version, which is going to be Red Dragon Archfiend. All right, so Red Dragon Archfiend, incorporated with the Light and Darkness Chaos rituals, can allow you to go into the Crimson King and allow you to do further plays before you even get started with your Light and Darkness Chaos monsters. It also offers up protection for Mind Shuffle, utilizing Soul Resonator. Soul Resonator, if this card is no more special summon, you can add one level 4 or lower Fiend monster from your deck to your hand. A perfect example is Grifo. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Dark Synchro monsters if a card you control would be destroyed by a card effect while you control a Red Dragon Archfiend or a Synchro monster that mentions it. You can banish this card from your graveyard instead. You can only use each effect of Soul Resonator once per turn. So basically, utilizing Soul Resonator while we have Crimson King on board allows us further protection on our opponent's turn to be able to basically utilize Mind Shuffle to get out our rituals a lot easier. Now, do note we are playing the 1 Bestial Magnemite and the 2 Power Vice Dragon. Power Vice is an insane and nutty card, as a Red Dragon Archfiend that was Synchro summoned using this card as material cannot be destroyed by battle. You can only use each of the following effects of Power Vice Dragon once per turn. If you control no monsters or all monsters you control are Dark Synchro monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summon, you can add 1 Resonator monster from your deck to your hand. Also, you cannot special summon from the extra deck for the rest of this turn except Dark Synchro monsters. So, basically further dark locking you if you go into this line, but that is perfectly fine because we're only going to be able to summon from the extra deck once for the rest of this turn if we utilize some of the Light and Darkness monster effects. Now, I am playing the 1 Vision Resonator, as it does give us options to get to Crimson Gaia or Crimson Call, and I am also running the 1 Darkness Resonator. So, in this case, you would need to run the 1 Red Dragon Archfiend if you were running this. I did mess up and keep the 3 Brave Sword Souls in, so let me fix that right now. So we would have to run the 1 Red Dragon Archfiend anyways, so we can further allow that capability. So even if we do that, it does give us an option to utilize Crimson King here during our opponent's turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can banish this card you control, especially 1 Red Dragon Archfiend, from your extra deck. This is treated as a Synchro summon, and if you do, its attack becomes doubled. Also cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. You can only use each effect of the Crimson King once per turn. So basically allowing us to go into a 6k beater that if you attack into a defense position monster, destroy all defense position monsters your opponent controls. Once per turn during the end phase, destroy all other monsters you control that did not declare an attack this turn. This card must be face up on the field to activate and resolve this effect. So that's perfectly fine. But at the end step, we can basically utilize it since it is a level 8 for ritual mechanics as well. So this does give you further bodies and capabilities to utilize your monsters to go back into your rituals, but also a better synchro body to further set up and interact with your opponent. While Crimson Gaia also offers another fun item here where you can change all monsters your opponent controls to face down defense position. If a monster on the field or monsters is on the field is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon Red Dragon Archfiend from your graveyard. This makes it a lot harder for your opponent to really out. So it makes it even more fun and more capable if you're looking towards incorporating this into your deck as a way for a going second board breaker style to where you're just looking to OTK your opponent as much as possible. Do note there are some kickbacks on this version to where while Super Poly is more of a board breaker during your opponent's turn, you have to pay attention to how you're utilizing your synchros and what you're doing first before you go through the full combo lines. That's perfectly fine. You have further options, but please do note that if you're not careful, you can dark lock yourself and prevent you from actually utilizing other cards such as Bestial Despater, Chaos Angel, or Cyframe Lord Omega. So, even though we got all that, let's go ahead and hop right in to our next version of this deck. All right, so I know a lot of people are looking towards not just playing going second with this deck. What is a good version that you can run that allows you to go first and further interact with your opponent? Well, welcome Light and Darkness Mitsu. Mitsurugi offers up a innate negation through Ame no Murakumo no Mitsurugi, to where your opponent, if they activate an effect, you can activate this effect, your opponent can discard one card, or that effect is negated. If this card is tributed, you can add one Mitsurugi card from your deck to your hand, except Ame no Murakumo no Mitsurugi. Then you can special summon this card. You can only use each effect of Ame no Murakumo no Mitsurugi once per turn, which is perfectly fine because we can search Habakiri using corrupted ritual records, giving us the capability of sending Mitsurugi Mirror or revealing the ritual spell in our hand or deck, and then add Ame no Habakiri no Mitsurugi from our deck to our hand, giving us another capable way outside of pre-preparation or rites to get to that pathway. So we can then start with our actual ritual process of going through the whole thing with the Mitsurugi rituals, giving us further capability to set up negations and interactions before we even go into our Light and Darkness, setting up even more protections and capabilities. You can also run the Mitsurugi Trap, as it is a good Omni-Negate, and allows you further protection during your opponent's turn, which can also help out a lot. Now, the fun part about this is, since we do have 5 bodies for rituals, we do have further capabilities of working more into this deck, as we are not extra deck reliant, so it turns our extra deck more into either link summoning super poly capabilities or just further board breaking access. While we're able to utilize the Fallen and the Virtuous, we can send the Albion or the Ecclesia shuffleback monsters that we need. The other options that we have are Dogma and a few others. So, do note that even with this, we are still running one new card in our extra deck, which is Zena no Sunigahime. It takes 2 or more effect monsters. You can also use one monster in your hand as material to link summon this card. If this card is link summoned, you can send one monster from your deck to the graveyard, or if this card was link summoned using only monsters you control, you can send one monster from your extra deck to the graveyard instead. During your next standby phase, after this card was sent from the field to the graveyard, you can add one monster from your graveyard to your hand. So great way to get that access back, but also giving you further options for further board breaking capabilities, as it lets you send Garura to the graveyard to get a card draw, or you can send basically any other link or extra deck monster, such as an Albion, to the graveyard to further trigger off their effects. So, at end step, you would still be able to trigger the Albion, the Branded Dragon effect, to set a Fallen and a Virtuous, which can further help you out a lot. Or you can utilize it to send the Ecclesia the Dark Dragon to then trigger the Ecclesia Dark Dragon effect, where during your turn, if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one level 8 fusion monster in your graveyard or banishment and one card in the field, shuffle both those cards and this card into the deck. You can only use each effect of Ecclesia the Dark Dragon once per turn, thus giving you more protection, more board breaking capabilities, and recurability for some of your monsters and interactions. While we are looking at this, do note that the reptile rituals will not work for the Black Chaos Ultimate Magical Swordsman effect to allow you to shuffle back a ritual monster. It specifically has to be a spellcaster or warrior ritual monster that you shuffle back, such as Black Chaos the Dark Chaos Magician, or one Blackluster Soldier of Light and Darkness. So giving you the further capability there. Now, as for those that still don't know what what Mitsurugi does, for you new players, I do recommend checking these out, as Mitsurugi no Mikoto Aramasa is basically their monster summoner or searcher. Mikoto is their graveyard recursion, and Saji is their spell searcher. So spell or trap searcher. As it is normal, special summon, or tributed, you can add one Mitsurugi spell or trap from your deck to your hand for Saji. For Kusanagi, if this card is normal, special summon, or tributed, you can target one Mitsurugi card in your graveyard or banishment and add it to your hand. And for Aramasa, if this card is normal, special summon, or tributed, you can add one Mitsurugi monster from your deck to your hand. So this gets you further playability, further capability, and since it can be used as rituals, or ritual material, so if you ritual summon, say, Black Chaos, a Dark Chaos Magician using 2 Mitsurugis, Monsters such as Aramasa and Saji, you can trigger their effects since they were attributed for the ritual summon. So this can further help you out in further breaking boards. Enough of me chattering on about what Mitsurugi does, though. I do have one final build, which I think a lot of people will really like, as it allows you to use the Master of Magia to further set up your board and further negation. So let's hop right into that one before we end the video. So, are you still looking for a way to set up Magia pretty easily? This deck does it in Ace of Spades. It is super easy and it is more fun with this version of the deck, as we're making sure to utilize our Blue Eyes monsters to allow us extra card draw, search ability, synchro summoning capability, and further functionality to go into Dragon Master Magia. We can utilize the Sage, the Maiden of White, True Light, and Wishes for Eyes of Blue, along with some of the other cards such as Ultimate Fusion and Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons, to basically go into our Blue Eyes combo without even really worrying about utilizing our extra deck for the most part. You can even incorporate things such as Blue Eyes Jet Dragon for further protection and further interaction as well. Now, do note that we do run a different extra deck, as we're running one Dragon Master Magia. It utilizes one Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon or 3 Blue Eyes monsters, one Chaos or Blackluster Soldier Ritual monster must be fusion summoned when your opponent activates a card or effect. Quick effect: you can negate the activation. If you do, destroy that card. You only use this effect of Dragon Master Magia in response to each card type, monster, spell, or trap once per turn. If this face-up card in its owner's control leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can special summon Blue Eyes monster, one Chaos or Blackluster Soldier Ritual monster from your extra deck or graveyard. So giving you that further capability, but it's on top of a 5k 4,000 defender body. So, making it a lot harder for your opponent to really interact, but you do have options to other cards such as Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. I don't know why it doesn't want to show it, but there we go. Must first be fusion summoned or special summoned from your extra deck by attributing one Blue Eyes White Dragon equipped with a fusion monster unaffected by trap cards or effects. This card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. Once per turn at the end of the damage step, if this card battled, you can target one trap in your graveyard, set it to your spell and trap zone, giving you the further capability there as well to further break your opponent's board. But we're also going to be going into Magia, more than likely using Ultimate Fusion. During the main phase, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as materials, by shuffling the fusion materials listed on it from your hand, field, and or graveyard into the deck. Then you can destroy face-up cards your opponent controls up to the number of Blue Eyes White Dragon, Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Blue Eyes White Dragon, and Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon used from the field as material. You can only activate one Ultimate Fusion per turn, so thus giving you the further capability of breaking your board, but also setting up further interaction. But that doesn't take into account of the other options we have for synchros and other items as well, such as the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Neither player can special summon 2 or more monsters at the same time, so tough luck there for you Pendulum players. Once per turn, when an effect of a card in the graveyard is activated, you can negate the activation. You contribute this synchro summon card, special summon one Light Dragon synchro monster from your extra deck in defense position, but destroy it during the end phase. That'll more than likely be our Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. 2 tuners plus 1 non-tuner Blue Eyes monster. Your opponent cannot banish cards from your graveyard. You can only use each of the following effects of Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon once per turn. When a card or effect is activated on the field, quick effect. You can negate the activation. If you do, this card gains 1,000 attack until the end of this turn. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can special summon one Light Dragon monster from your graveyard, except Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon, thus allowing you an Omni Negate as well on board that allows you to further board break. But do note, with the power of this deck, you do have the options of going first or second, as you do have good searchability with Wishes for Eyes of Blue. Discard 1 tuner, add 1 level 1 Light tuner and 1 spell trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand, except Wishes for Eyes of Blue. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon you control, equip 1 Blue Eyes monster from your extra deck to it as an equipped spell that gives it 400 attack. You can only use each effect of Wishes of Eyes of Blue once per turn, followed up by Roar of Blue-Eyed Dragons. Special summon in defense position 1 Blue Eyes monster from your deck, graveyard, or banishment, but if you control no Blue Eyes White Dragon, you can only special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon with this effect. You cannot special summon from their extra deck for the rest of this turn except dragon monsters. You can banish this card from your graveyard. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, including a Blue Eyes monster. You can only use one Roar of Blue-Eyed Dragons effect per turn and only once that turn, which is perfectly fine and gives you the further capability that you need to revive your Blue Eyes monster outside of the effect of True Light to further trigger effects of, for example, Maiden of White. You can send this card from your hand or field to the graveyard, place one True Light from your hand or deck or graveyard face up in your spell and trap zone. If you special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon while this card is in your graveyard, except during the damage step, you can special summon this card when a card or effect is activated that targets this card on the field, or when this card is targeted for an attack. Quick effect, you can special summon Blue Eyes White Dragon or one level 1 Light Tuner from your graveyard. You can only use each effect of Maiden of White once per turn. So, if you incorporate cards such as Blue Eyes Jet Dragon for further protection and other cards along the lines, you have more capability of going into further plays, such as going through your rank 8s for Hope Harbinger, for spell negation, Gigantic Trader, for more card draw and burning capability. But you also have the options to go into other cards such as Ashland U1000, Heretic Seal of Heavenly Spears, Dynamondo, and Spirit of Eyes of Blue. This deck has it all. It is basically the combination of Kaiba's Blue Eyes deck and Yugi's upgraded deck that gives it a more unique feel, but an originality feel to it, as well giving you further capability to further make it your own. For those OG players, this deck is like a godsend, giving you the capability to play competitively, but also giving you the capability of saying, hey, look, I'm bringing a Yugi deck or a Kaiba deck that can still kick butt this day. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one.